am fangirling quite hard right now. I've always wanted a little GM1, the world's smallest micro four thirds camera. And more specifically, I've always wanted it in this weird blue color, which is the Japanese edition. I love it so much. And I've been out and about for a full month now with this as my main walkabout camera. We've gone on some adventures together. So here are my thoughts on this delightful little camera in 2023. First of all, some sacrifices that you make because it is so blooming small. You do not have a dedicated grip and you do not have a hot shoe. You do have a full-sized SD slot, which surprised me because the GX800 only has a micro SD, but because we're using these primarily for photography, it doesn't matter either way, to be honest. You also don't have a flippy screen, it's just sort of what you see is what you get. And you do have the most adorable little flash that I have never once used and probably never will. I thought initially that this being so small, it would be quite lost in my hands and quite unsafe. But I have this cute little strap, which I got from Amazon, and I've attached it to Peak Design clips. You'll see this on a lot of my cameras. I have them on most. Then when I'm out and about, I know it's safe. It does have a really cute little rubberized bit around the top. So as long as I know my thumb's on that, I'm fine. And it really is pocketable. I can stick this in any of my bags and my pockets, and it's great. The GX800 is also great. I've done a dedicated video on why this was my camera of choice for a very long time, and it does have some benefits like the flippy screen, etc. But it is ever so slightly larger than the GM1, and the GM1, as far as I'm concerned, is a collector's item, and I'm so happy that I have it. Sometimes when I'm feeling particularly silly, I use it with this lens. This is my Spider-Man setup. You need really good light for the body cap lens, but I do think it's a very pretty combination. Now, even though this camera is a little bit older now, it came out in 2013, the menu system on the GM1 compared to many of my other cameras is still quite fresh and quite modern. And the Olympus PL6, it's like using a VHS player or something. It's awful. The hardware is so beautiful, but the menus are really quite dated. It's a small thing for a lot of people, but the GM1 still looks quite fresh and new in terms of the menus. And you have all the bells and whistles that you usually get, like time-lapse mode, stop motion, and bracketing, etc. So you do have a hell of a lot of features, just like you'd find in a larger Micro Four Thirds camera in the smaller body. The video is okay in a pinch. It's not stabilized, so you really have to do God's work in editing to make it smooth. But just for documenting your day-to-day life, I think it's quite cute. I got some clips when I was in the Lake District on a photo walk with it, and I thought it was all right. Is it the first camera, third camera, or even 10th camera I would reach to for video? Absolutely not. But we're talking about photography and street photography and walkabout photography primarily for this camera. Now, you might think if you have something this small, you may as well get something that's compact and a dedicated fixed focal length like the Ricoh GR3. Review coming soon. Ooh. Yes, there are pros and cons to having fixed focal length. You know, it's very, very pocketable, very, very nice. It does one thing very, very good, and that's its dedicated lens. But the joys, I think, with the Micro Four Thirds ones is all the different lenses that you can use. You've got your 14mm, you've got your 20mm, you could use a 17mm. You could use standard Micro Four Thirds lenses as well, even though they're a little bit larger. And it's the versatility for me that keeps me coming back to the interchangeable lens system for this sort of thing. It's not like you're stuck with one fixed focal length. You can go out 3 different times with 3 different prime lenses and have a completely different experience. Competitors, alternatives. This is why my desk is full of cameras. You do have your very pricey fixed focal length like the Ricohs, and you do have the more affordable GX800 with its flippy screen. Doesn't actually come in very many fun colours. I spray painted this one. We also have the PL6, the Olympus PL6, which also has the flippy screen. And the hardware of this is absolutely stunning. I love that it's a cohesive red colour the whole way around. The menus make me want to cry, but I'm going to take this out for a full review soon. I think it's a gorgeous piece of kit and very, very affordable. And then, whew, now we're talking. The Pentax Q, actually the world's smallest interchangeable lens camera. The GM1 is the world's smallest Micro Four Thirds interchangeable camera, but the Pentax Q has tiny little lenses, and I'm slowly collecting the full set. Also has the cutest little flash I've ever seen. But if you look at the sensor size, here's why the GM1 still rules, because the sensor in the Pentax Q is really, really small, and this is really, really nice. However, the Pentax Q does have built-in ND filters. It's so before its time, honestly, and a great little camera to have if you are weird and collect tiny cameras like I do. So the GM1, I love it. It makes me smile every time I use it. I love the colour. I'm so glad I waited to get the colour. And yes, it's a little bit more expensive than the GX800, which is a brilliant bargain option. But this one, this special edition, Japanese one, was still only £270 on eBay. So it's not like it breaks the bank, but it is, you know, you can probably find the GX800 for £100 cheaper than that. And certainly the PL6 is cheaper than that as well. And sometimes with the PL6, you find these cute little red body cap lenses, which is not the reason I bought it. Definitely was. So photo-wise, the dynamic range is great. I think the GM1 is such a good walkabout camera and still has a place in 2023. However, I really hope Lumix update it one day, because I do think it's a joy and one of the most iconic cameras that Lumix has ever made. Watch this video next, which will go through all the different lens choices that you can have with these cameras and make your own properly portable, pocketable camera setup.